friends, welcome to Tarunayas. Today we will be discussing current affairs. So 1st of November 2022. So let's start with the first news of the day. The first news is about India hosting the Counterterrorism Committee. India has always played a proactive role when it comes to countering terrorism, and especially after the 2008 attack and the Parliament attack in 2001 and the September 11 attack. So India has been playing a proactive role when it comes to countering terrorism when it comes to neutralizing the elements which are affecting and which are threatening the internal security of India and as well as the external security of India. So in this very context, the hosting of special meeting of the Counter-Terrorism Committee by India becomes of utmost importance. Now let us see what is this Counter-Terrorism Committee. The Counterterrorism Committee, it was established by the United Nations Security Council Resolution 1373, which was adopted unanimously after the September 11 terrorist attack in the year 2001 in United States of America. Now the committee comprises all 15 Security Council members. Now if we look at the structure of the United Nations Security Council, there are total 15 members, out of which there are 5 permanent members and there are 10 non-permanent members. Alright, so in our daily current affairs, we had discussed about the United Nations Security Council and its structure and how the elections are conducted of the non-permanent members. So if you can go to our playlist and watch the editorial discussing the UNSC reforms. Now what is the purpose of this resolution 1373? Now in case if the question is asked about this resolution in prelims, the question probably would be that the United Nations Security Council resolution 1373 is related to which of the following, like that the prelims question could be framed. So India is currently chairing this United Nations Security Council CTC, which is Counter-Terrorism Committee, and the resolution calls the state to legislate counter-terrorism legislation. That means any state which is member of this committee has to legislate, has to have a legal framework which deals with the terrorism. So in India, we have 2 very important legislation. After the repeal of the TADA and the POTA, we still have the UAPA, which is Unlawful Activities Prevention Act, and we still have the National Investigation Agency and the NIA Act, which constituted. So therefore these are the 2 important act which deals with the terror related activities, and especially the Unlawful Activities Prevention Act and its amendment in the year 2019, and the amendment in the National Investigation Agency Act in the year 2019 has in fact expanded the role and the scope of the law enforcement agencies when it comes to countering terrorism. So you have to remember these 2 important acts which are related with ensuring the external as well as the internal security of India. So India, in order to fulfill the obligation of this CTC, had legislated these 2 important act in order to counter the terrorism. Now let us look at the purpose of the meetings. Now Mr. Trimurti, who is currently the permanent representative of India at United Nations. So basically he has chaired the summit or meeting, whatever. Now let us look at the purpose of the meeting that is being conducted in India. The first important agenda or the criteria of the meeting is to discuss the theme of how the new and emerging technologies are used for the terrorist purpose and how they can be countered. So the second point was the cryptocurrency and the use of the drones. Now recently it has been seen that the drones are being used for for executing the terrorist attacks, especially in the case of the Pulwama, and especially I mean, in case of the Uri attack, we had seen the usage of the drones. And so therefore, and also the cryptocurrencies, which are highly volatile, volatile digital a kind of a digital currency is based on the cryptography. And the important aspect of this cryptocurrency is that it is ambiguous in nature, and it can be used for the purpose of terrorist financing and counterfeiting currencies, which is then rerouted for the purpose of terrorist financing. Therefore, cryptocurrency, due to its ambiguous nature and decentralized nature, it is becoming a major threat to the security of the country, unless and until it is properly regulated, unless and until we do have the proper mechanism in our country to ensure to neutralize any harmful effect that are posed by the usage of the cryptocurrency. So therefore, the panel did discuss about the terrorist financing using cryptocurrency, and also the use of the drones in executing the terrorism, and which is also called as the new age terrorism. The involvement of the people has been reduced, and rather the technology is being used to commit the crime, technology is used to commit or execute the terrorist plan, etc., etc. And one thing is to be noticed, that this is first such meeting which is being held in India ever since the inception or the establishment of the Counter-Terrorist Committee since 2001. Now let's look at the second news of the day. Recently in the newspaper, you might have heard, even you might have read, that the Delhi Chief Minister Mr. Arvind Kejriwal had called for having pictures of Lord Ganesha and Goddess Lakshmi on the note or the currency of India, so as to have economic prosperity. Now the news may not be that important. However, what is more important is about that which are the institutions or the agencies responsible for minting the coins, printing the currency, and how the government of India is involved, and what is the role of the Reserve Bank of India. So let us look at that, how the Reserve Bank of India is involved in issuing the currencies. We know that majority of the works of the Reserve Bank of India are derived from the RBI Act of 1934, which gives its power to execute its functions, to have autonomy, to have independent functioning, and to also fulfill the obligations of the central bank. So the section 22 of the RBI Act of 1934 gives RBI the power right to issue the banknote. So there are two important things which we have to understand about the currencies. So there are currencies, and we have the paper currency, and we do have the coins. Now the coins are actually minted by the government, by the central government. We would further see that how the central government is involved in the currency, and what is the role of the RBI. We are going to discuss it now. So we do have the paper currency, and this paper currency, it keeps changing on time to time depending upon the economic condition, depending upon the purchasing power parity of the currency, domestic currency with respect to the international currency. It keeps on changing according to the government policies. It does change according to the value of the dollar, because because oil is purchased in dollars, most of the foreign exchange, and most of the export and import is conducted in dollars, because that is being recognized as the international currency, in a way international currency. However, there are bucket of currency according to the IMF, with which the purchasing power parity is being measured. So there is a paper currency which does change according to the economic prosperity and the economic conditions of the country, and coin also does change depending upon the government policies. And coinage, or the study of the coin, is also known as the numismatic. And this coin is of very important, because since ancient time, many of the rulers and ancient kingdoms and the medieval kingdoms, they had issued numerous coins, and they varied in terms of the design, in terms of the metal used. Sometimes copper was used, sometimes gold, silver was used. For example, in the medieval time, during the Delhi Sultanate period, the silver tanka was issued. Gold coins were there with impression on them. In ancient period, we did have the punch marked coins. We did have the gold currency issued by the Indo-Greek rulers, Kushans, and in fact, it continued till the Gupta period. So coins, they become very important. In fact, in the mains examination, the the coins were asked of they were asked, so you can go and look at how the coins have evolved over a period of time, since the ancient time to the medieval and then to the modern era, and what is the present status and what is the token currency. And you can also go and look into the issue of the digital currency, which is going to be issued by the Central Bank of India, and what is going to be what is the digital currency, the definition, and what are the different caveats associated with it. So you can go and prepare these 3-4 topics, but currently we are going to look at the role of the RBI, which is Reserve Bank of India. And the section 25 of the act states that the design, form and material of the banknotes shall be such as it may be approved by the central government after the consideration of the recommendation made by the RBI to the central government. So the route is this, that RBI makes recommendation to the central government, and that central government has the clear prerogative to decide on the design, form and the material of the currency that is going to be issued, or that would be the national currency. All right, let's move on. The Department of Currency Management under the RBI is responsible for administrating the core function of the currency management. However, when in case of the design of the currency, now if you look at this 100 rupee note, there was a time when we used to use this rupee note with picture of Mahatma Gandhi on one side, and there is to be a blank side. However, it was not a complete blank. If it was hold against the light, you would see a reverse image of Gandhiji. You would see a reverse image of Gandhiji. There would be a silver line here, which would be kind of a marker for its originality, and the issue and the amount of the note is mentioned here, and it will be written, and there will be sign of the RBI governor, and in Hindi and English it will be written, and in other language also it would be written that the RBI governor promised to give so and so amount of rupee to the person who is receiving it, right? And the mentioning of the Reserve Bank of India, the number or the series of the note will be mentioned on this side as well as on this side. So this is how the note of Republic of India looked like. So the design and etc. is the work of the department of the currency management, and design is then submitted to the RBI, which then corresponds it to the central government, who gives the final approval. So therefore, we have got this department. Let me clear all this. So we have this department of currency management, which gives a design and etc., which is then corresponded by RBI to the central government, and final approval lay with the central government. So this is what the procedure is followed when the currency design is to be when the currency design is to be changed. In fact, this happened in the year 2016 during the time of demonetization, when the currency were changed. The 500 and the 1000 rupee notes, they were demonetized, and then they were replaced with the different series, including the 2000 rupee note, the 500 rupee note, the 100 rupee note and the 20 rupee note. So let us look at that how the currency have evolved in India. But first, let us discuss about the minting of the coins. Now, the Coinage Act of 2011 gives the central government the power to design and mint the coins in various denominations. Now, this is not under the RBI. RBI is only responsible for the distribution of the coins, but not for the minting of the coins. There are 4 factories, the coin minting factories in Mumbai, Hyderabad, Kolkata and Noida. The quantity is to be decided by the government on reception of the indents by the RBI. Alright, so this is how the Indian coins are minted, and you can have a look at the look at the coins. This is 10 rupee coin, which is the new coin, and on the reverse, this is the obverse side, and this is the reverse side. On the reverse side, you will see the Satyamev Jayate, the national emblem of our country. This is the 5 rupee note. We have the Ashoka emblem here, and then we have the denomination written here. And on the reverse side, we again have the Ashoka emblem, and India is written here. So this is how the Indian coin look like, and you see it in your everyday life. It's just the observation. So if you look at the 2 rupee coin of 2007 series. This is 2007 series. We had one hand projecting rupee 2, and this is 2005 series, in which we had grain on both side of the domination, and this is the reverse side where we have the national emblem and India written. So this is how the coin look like. Now if you look at, these are the old notes. So the type of the bank issued, so first of all, post independent, we had issued the rupee 1 note. There was a time when we used to have rupee 1 note. However, today we have the coin, but earlier we used to have it in the form of the note. So that was issued in the 1949 with a portrait of the King George. I couldn't get the picture of this, but you can go and search on net that how this banknote looked like, because it had the lion capital of the Ashoka pillar at the Sarnath as the watermark window, and it did have the portrait of the King George. And later on that, yes, of course, it was replaced by several series of the notes, but some of the series are given here. If you look at the 50 rupee note, the earlier 50 rupee note, now the 50 rupee note has been changed, the color and the design and etc has been changed. We had already discussed that who is responsible for the design and how it is corresponded by the RBI to the central government, and how the final approval lay with the central government. We had already seen it. So you can look at the design of the note here. Indian Parliament is showcased here. There is a blank space. However, it is not a blank space. If you put it against the light, the picture of Mahatma Gandhi is observed. And this is the old 20 rupee note, and this is the reverse side. This is the obverse side of the 10 rupee note, and the reverse side we had this elephant and tiger and some design at the back. And this is the 5 rupee note, and we had this tractor. It is green in color. So color also matters. This is somewhat orange, this is somewhat red, this is somewhat pink, etc. So this is the new series. So Mahatma Gandhi series was released in the year 1996, then 2005, and then of course 2016 post demonetization. So if you look at the currency post demonetization, this is how it looks like. So we have the 50 rupee note completely changed. We have this 100 rupee note, the 200 rupee note, the 500 rupee note, and the 2000 rupee note. The identifiable markers have been changed, the design, the colors, etc have been changed. So this is 2016 series post demonetization. You can have a look at it here, and in the reality also we see it every day. So you can have a more specific look when you have the note with you. This is just for the picture purpose. Now let us talk about the third news of the day. Now the news is about the Mangar Dham. So Rajasthan CM has actually sought the declaration of this Mangram Dam as a monument of national importance. Now what is the importance of this Mangar Dam, and what is the Mangar massacre that I am going to talk about? So let's look at what this Mangar Dam is about. This is how the Mangar Dham looks like. Kind of a pillar is there, kind of a thumb is there, which marks or something, and a platform is there. People do gather here. So let us talk about what this Mangar massacre is, and the Mangar Dham, which marks the Mangar massacre. So what happened during 1913? There was a tribal revolt against the Britishers in response to what is known as the bonded labor. Now what is this bonded labor? In ancient times also you must have studied about a term called as vishti. Now this vishti is also called as bonded labor. So there is a person who works with another person, but in a bonded contract. That means the person is not free. It's a kind of a slavery only. So bonded labor is a form of a slavery. So person get tied to another person or the master, and and the person does take care of everything that the master needs. everything that the master needs. So this is how the bonded labor works. So there was a revolt against this bonded labor, and the tribal people seek to abolish the bonded labor system, and this is also known as the Adivasi Jallianwala incident. So what happened, about 1500 Bhil tribals. Bhil is a large tribe in the areas of Madhya Pradesh, Rajasthan, etc., etc. In the central highlands, Bhil is very dominating tribe after Gonds, which is the largest which has the largest tribal population in India, approximately 1 million according to the census of 2011. So Bhil is also a large tribe in the central highland, in the central area of the country. So approximately 1500 Bhil tribals and the forest dwellers, they were killed at the Mangarh on November 17, 1913, when the British Indian Army opened fire on the protestants. And what they were protesting against? They were protesting against the bonded labor. They wanted to abolish this bonded labor system. Under the leadership of the Govind Guru, they were gathered in and demanded the abolition of the bonded labor. The movement actually started. This is not 1980s, actually, by mistake. It is 1880s. So the movement actually started in the 1880s, and then it continued, and finally in the year 1913 the massacre took place. So what happened? And they took fire god as their central deity, and something, so whenever there is a movement, there is a particular symbol which symbolizes the strength of that movement. So fire deity was considered as the strength of that movement, and it was considered, and the voices were raised by performing the havan, which is called as the dhuni. And the Govind Guru mobilized Bhils, and presented a charter of 33 demands to the Britishers in 1910, which was before the massacre took place, seeking to abolish the bonded labor system. The event took a serious turn after the British declined their demands, and which ultimately resulted into this massacre. So in recognizing the loss of lives of the people, or in fact the sacrifice of the Bhil tribal people, this thumb was erected, and this Mangar Dham recognizes their sacrifice in fight of independence. Let us look at the fourth news of the day. The fourth news about that Union Home Minister had announced that NIA, which is National Investigation Agency, this is the sign of the NIA, is to have offices on all states by 2024. Now let's look at what this NIA is. Basically, it is a National Investigation Agency to counter terrorism law, and to implement the central counter-terrorism law in India, and it is the main enforcement agency. It is under the administration of the Ministry of Home Affairs, and it was created post 2008 attack. Basically, the agency is empowered to deal with the terror related cases, and it has access to all the states, and it has reached to all the states. Unlike CBI, we discussed earlier in our daily current affair classes, the CBI does need to take permission, which is two types of consents are there by the state: the general consent and the special consent. And if you remember that in the previous few days, Telangana had withdrawn the general consent to the CBI. So unlike CBI, National Investigation Agency has access to all the states without any special permission. However, the state government can request the central government to acquire any cases, to acquire any of the cases, and give it to the NIA as per the provisions of the case, as per the provision of the act. If under the schedule of the act the cases lie under the prerogative of the National Investigation Agency, the state thus can request to the central government. National Investigation Agency have various special courts which are to be notified across the India for trial under the NIA Act. The courts are presided over by a judge who is appointed by the central government on the recommendation of the Chief Justice of the High Court. The offices are located, it is headquartered, the headquarter is in Delhi, and the rest of the offices are located in Hyderabad, Guwahati, Kochi, Mumbai, Kolkata, Rajput, Jammu, Chandigarh, Ranchi, Chennai, and Imphal. Now, the fifth news of the day is about the amendments in the IT Act amendments in the Information Technology Intermediary Guidelines and Digital Media Ethics Code Rules of 2021. So we remember, in keeping view with the changing perspective of the social media intermediaries and their role in defining the social fabric of the country, it has become utmost important to regulate these social media intermediaries who have such a wider impact on the psychology as well as on the socio-economic conditions of the country. So therefore, keeping in such change, in pace with such changes, in 2021 the government of India had introduced the IT rules for the social media intermediaries, for the online news platforms, and for the OTT platforms. So here we are going to discuss what are the recent changes in the IT rules of 2021, and we will also discuss the concerns related with this. So I've taken this news from the Hindu, from text and context. Now, so in a bid to keep itself updated of the new emergent roles of the social media intermediaries, like I said, the government of India is going to replace its decades-old IT rules. Now let us look at what are the amendments, but before that we will see what is the need for those amendments. The first one is that interest and the constitutional rights should not be contravened by the role performed by the social media intermediaries in such a scenario where the digitalization is penetrating across the globe, and also the role of the digitalization and the digital media is increasing day by day. The amendment also seeks to strengthen the grievance redressal framework, and the compliance should not affect the early stage startups. Now let's look at what are the amendments. The first one is that they can be placed in two categories. The first is that they're placing certain obligation on the social media intermediaries, and the second one, they're instituting the appellate mechanism in order to redress the grievances of the people as well as the social media intermediaries. Now, what are the additional obligations that are being placed on the SMIs? The first one, they are not just required to inform, but they are rather to ensure that the users is compliant and should make reasonable effort to prevent the prohibited information from being hosted on their platform, the prohibited content or prohibited information to be hosted on their platform. So they not only have to ensure the awareness of their users, but also have to ensure that the prohibited content should not be hosted on their platform. The second one is that that Indian Constitution does provide various rights to the citizens, and those rights are extended to the net also. So the rights are extended to the netizens as well. So the social media intermediaries are to respect all the rights which are according to the citizens under the Constitution of India, under the Article 14, 19 and 21. The Article 14 states for the right to equality. The Article 19 talks about the freedom of speech and expression, and the Article 21 talks about the right to life, which had its broadest interpretation in the Puttaswamy case of 2017. Now let's talk about the SMAIs and what are they obligated to. The first one is that they have to remove the information or the communication link within the 72 hours of the complaint. They are obligated to ensure the accessibility to the services with due diligence, privacy and transparency. The rules and regulation, privacy policy and the user should be hosted on the platform of the social media intermediaries in all languages so that the user can understand them. What are the newly introduced grievance redressals? Like I said, there are two amendments. The one is that obligates the social media intermediaries for certain activities, and the other one is the grievance redressals. So first, if you see that prior to the IT rules, the platforms, they had their own mechanism to redress the grievances. However, the IT rules have changed it, and there is to be a grievance officer who has to acknowledge the complaint within 24 hours and dispose it off within 15 days. The government is also instituting the grievance appellate committee, which is going to hear the appeal against the order of the grievance officer within the 30 days. And the committee shall consist of a government appointed officer and 2 independent members shall be there. What are the concerns arising out of these amendments? The first one is that it is unclear to which extent the social media intermediaries are supposed to take the measures to ensure the users of their right, and also the users are apprehensive of their rights, right, whether their right to freedom of speech and expression should not be trampled upon by the social media intermediaries. The second concern that arises is that the respect to all right, it could lead to ambiguities, because there are so many social media intermediaries, and in the absence of a uniformity, every intermediary is going to interpret the law in its favor, so there shall arise a ambiguity. So that is going to be a major concern that the government should address and has to address in the future. The third point is about that there is no common understanding of the messaging of the resolution of the complaint. What does the resolution of the complaint mean? So that is to be understood. The transparency report by the SMEIs, that is Facebook and the Twitter, it has suggested that there are no enough complaints. So if you look at the users of the Twitter and the Facebook and the number of the complaints registered at these platforms, there is a huge it's disproportionate. There is a huge gap or a difference between the two. So the reason could be either the people are not aware of this, or people are not interested in registering complaint, or they consider it as futile. So this is one such thing. This is one thing that is leading to the concern. The another concern is about the framework has not provided the recourse of the complaint if the complainant is dissatisfied. Whether it shall go to the Supreme Court or the High Court under the Article 226 and Article 32 of the Constitution, that is the constitutional remedies, or the complainant shall go to the appellate committee. Like if appellate committee is the mandatory step, then the complainant shall skip this skip the act of step of going to the High Court or the Supreme Court. So this parallel usage of the mechanism will result into the confusion. The government has to clear this. So, and also the appointments is going to be made by the government. So that would lead to a kind of a apprehension of the biasness. Apprehension of the biasness. So this is this is all about the concerns. So that's it for today. Thank you so much for watching Tarun IAS. Have a nice day.